Hello and welcome to another edition of Close Mode, the Enterprise Sales Show. I am Brian Dietmeyer, CEO of Close Strong AI, the home of precision guided selling. And today I'm super lucky to be here with Chuck Howlett. Chuck, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Brian.
So Chuck's got a pretty cool background. He was sales management with Eli Lilly, the director of the Professional Sales Center at NIU. And I have to say, go Huskies. For those of you who don't know, they are America's literally underdog team who beat Notre Dame last season. So that's pretty cool. And is also currently adjunct faculty at University of Idaho. And today, Chuck, as you well know, we're going to be chatting about sales degree programs. And I'm really excited for this podcast today. I've met a ton of people who don't really realize that their sales training is now happening at the university level. And I think maybe even more importantly, a great place to recruit. I also had the honor of teaching a class at NIU. I taught a negotiation class to some of the students there, Chuck, and I was blown away. And I don't know if this is still the case, but they all showed up in business wear. Like that was the ladies were in suits or dresses, the boys were in ties, and I don't know if that still happens, but it's pretty cool.
Well, I think it's now changed over the last couple of years. When I was there, that was a fact. You had to do it. And it was funny. I had a tying competition because a lot of the guys don't know how to tie their ties. So the women were helping them tie their ties and giving them put it over their neck and things like that. But what we try to do at Northern is to try to emulate the real sales world. It's not like you're wearing jeans and tennis shoes. So let's put them in the real world and try to give them that opportunity to really kind of soar. But
yeah. And that's definitely the part that I want to bring out to our listeners today. Again, because I was really, really blown away. I'm really happy to see it. But let's start a couple, like for those folks who aren't aware of this, roughly how many sales programs are out there at the university level?
At the university level? Well, when I was with Lilly, let me stop back on that one. When I was with Lilly, NIU asked me to be a coach to the sales competition team that was going to Kennesaw State. So I'm like, Sure, this will be fun. So I went to Kennesaw State with 4 kids from Northern Illinois, and I got down there, Brian, and I'm like, I want to go home and fire half my team right now because these sales students, they are good, they're hungry, and they want it. So that got me an idea that I didn't know there's that many sales programs. And in 2007, I went back and did some research. There were 27 programs across the country, 27. Fast forward 18 years, there's 235 universities across the United States, and there's 20 of those in international schools that have some type of selling program or certificate, some kind of higher education in the field of sales.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I think I was telling you on our pre-call that when I was with Marriott and VP of National Account Sales, I went up to, I think either Michigan State. I think they had a hotel program, and nobody. And I was hiring salespeople, and they were coming in with marketing degrees. Nobody at 19 years old or however the heck old they are when they come out is going into marketing. And I went up and met with their dean and said, I'll even write a textbook for you, because I was so frustrated with not being able to recruit. But what is the actual degree that they're getting? I think there's a range, right?
There's a range, right? So at Northern, we had a sales certificate program, and to be accredited, and there's the group called Sales Education Foundation that was actually founded in 2007 when we first got these data. They have to be accredited by the university. They have to say, you have a program, the university acknowledges it. It has to have at least 3 sales classes. And then finally, it has to be accredited by an external person that comes in and says, yep, you have a sales program. So in that whole scenario, you've got a lot of folks that have sales minors. You have sales majors more recently, and you have sales certificates. In our case, we did not go, at least when it was put together, not do a sales major. It only needs one more class to get a major. But we found more success in the marketing kids, students coming in, and they said, you know what, I'm going to finish my degree and get these classes and get a certificate, or digital marketing or things like that. When I left Northern, about half of the students were marketing majors. There was probably 25% were management majors. We had some finance majors, had some accounting majors, a lot of sports management people. And the funny thing is they get these sales certificates, put it on their resume. And in our case, you had to interview to get into the class. So it was a limited entry. So any company says, what does this limited entry mean? And all of a sudden you've got one more star in your crown that says, hey, maybe this person may be a great fit for us. So it kind of ranges all over the world.
So before these programs existed, I think you have a sense of how many college graduates were going into sales before there was ever sales certificate or degree programs. Do you have any idea about that?
Yeah, I mean, when I was there, I was being a veterinary. That didn't work real well. So ag business, that didn't work that well. But you become, because of the process of elimination, the feeling 25 years ago is like, well, you know what? If you can't make it, go to sales kind of scenario.
Right,
And we're
right,
trying to flip that and say, you know what? If you can't make it in sales, why don't you go be an accountant? Hasn't worked
nice.
that great, but it's kind of fun on that one. But there's probably, from the market research that we've done, anywhere from 60 to 70% of college graduates go into the sales field. And that's pretty well documented. So if you're going to be 2/3, 60% of chance going to go out in sales, why don't you learn something on campus where it's no risk? You can't get fired, put on promotion or a probation kind of scenario. So that was the gist of trying to get some people some real life examples so they could use that and go to those companies
Yeah,
that says, you know, we only hire salespeople. It's like, well, I've got some sales education. It's in the academic world, and that's worked
right.
pretty well.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Chuck, my experience at NIU, it led me to feel like it was almost like a sales trade school rather than an academic adventure, because I just felt like they were doing like real sales stuff. Can you give our listeners some examples of kind of real life experiences they get in these programs?
No, I think it's a good question because first of all, when companies come in, they want people that have real life experience and more than anything else. So in a lot of programs, in my case, I had 25 corporations coming into the university and say, "Hey, I want to hire your top salesperson." I'm like, you know what? They're all top salespeople, so let's work with that. So that put people in to say, if our product is going to be these students coming out, we need to have a product that they're going to want to hire. So
Yes.
because of that, we came back and did a lot of time on get a resume. So it actually is a resume that represents you. Let's do an elevator pitches. Let's understand that. What is your value proposition for you? And then when you get in the classroom, learning about prospecting, qualifying prospecting, understanding a negotiations pre-call plan. And then we have done a tremendous amount of inside sales role plays, improv, because in that case, the best salespeople are the ones that improv it. And then finally, the role play of actually sitting down face to face, or now doing the Zoom or the Teams call, something like that.
Yeah.
And what really set us apart, I think, is instead of having a student on student, it became a corporate person versus a sales student. So that then became an interview for the corporation that says, I want to know the student. And from the student, I got somebody in the real world giving me real advice. So it became a great marriage, I think, to move forward with that.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me. It's so kind of street level and kind of hands on that I was really really blown away. And my next question has to do with sort of the top programs. And as I ask that question, it's like how do you sort of what means top? But like what who do you think's churning out some of the best graduates for those folks who might consider recruiting?
Well, it's kind of like asking 20 parents who's the best parent,
Right.
same kind of scenario here. But out of the 235, they're all in the top 235. But I would
Yes.
say if we look at people that, people that started this program, a lot of MAC schools did it, the Toledos, the Akrons, the Miamis of Ohio's, and Baylor got involved. Kennesaw State got involved. And if I were looking back on where I would go, you meet every year, at least once a year with the sales professionals, and you say, what's Brian doing? I want to steal that Brian idea and putting it over here. So because of that, we're really not competing against anybody to say we're the
Right.
best. It goes back to the companies. What are they looking for? If I'm in Michigan, I'm looking for something maybe different than in California or, up in Minneapolis kind of scenario. But I would go to people like Baylor because Baylor's been around a long time and they have had tremendous success and support down there. I would also go to Kennesaw State. I would go to Northern Illinois because
Yeah.
they have a journal on market research on selling. North Dakota State's one that's been popping up. They have a new retired guy that's from a Microsoft-ish kind of thing, and he's like he's got to find something to do, so he's doing a tremendous program. But they're depending on the area that you're in, because a lot of these students don't necessarily want to travel all over. If I need somebody in Idaho, I'd probably go out there, or if I need somebody in Miami, I'd probably go down there with a bilingual kind of sales education. So I can't
Great.
really say who's the best on that, but I think everybody gets to know the person that is doing great things in their programs and tries to steal it and bring it back into their university.
Yeah, no, that's actually a great answer to the question, and I do think that you talked a little bit about longevity. Maybe it was Baylor. It's like that's got to have something to do with it, right? Who's been doing it for a while? So what kind of placements are you seeing? What level of position are these folks? I mean, of course, they're going to need more product training and onboarding and that kind of thing, but what are they ready for?
What they read it for, I think when I first started, it became a first entry level job. I'm looking for a salesperson to go call 75, 100 people a day and make those cold calls, just go and burn out. I think as the sales education has evolved with all the contacts and all the globalization of this is depending on the students, like any bell-shaped curve, there's people on that far right side of the curve. They are ready to go into sales and maybe a second level, like a fleet management training or something like that based upon their skill set. At Northern, we placed somebody at a fleet level and never been done before. So that was quite cool. We did McKesson Pharmaceuticals. We've done, like I said, Enterprise. We've done CH Robinson. We've got a Salesforce person. We've got somebody Novartis, Takeda. So those kind of people, they may go back into the starter sales kind of role, but they go very quickly through that because those skills have been learned already. So now it's applying it, seeing it, differentiating yourself and moving forward.
So where can listeners learn more? Is there any kind of a central hub for this?
Yeah, there really is. And that took a while, but through the Sales Education Foundation, Brian, they go online and get that. They do an annual publication. It has all universities in it. There's, like I said, 235, but it also then gives you the contact information, where they're located,
Hmm.
what their program consists of, including a sales major, minor certificate, maybe some external kind of scenario. But it's a good playbook if I have an interest in doing that, and you can kind of see what you're interested in. So that will be the first resource. The second I'd go through is on campus. Most of these sales programs are affiliated with something called Pi Sigma Epsilon. You might have heard of it. It's a PSC, which is a fraternity for sales and marketing. So they have chapters around a lot of these, and you get the sales people that are there learning the sales, also joining PSC, and those are national competitions where you can benchmark your skills over. So my two resources would be PSC, Pi Sigma Epsilon, and then also the Sales Education Foundation, where I think companies and listeners can really get some great information to try to find what their next recruiting options might be.
Yeah, I would because you've been super generous with your time and your ideas, as have many other sales and revenue leaders. That I'm actually going to go to both of those and share this podcast because I think for these students to hear what you and your peers. I mean, we've had sales enablement folks, CROs, VPs of sales, and some top performing AEs, and I think it would be a really interesting part of any sales degree program to hear what are people struggling with today. So I'm gonna push that out to them as well.
No, please do. And a lot of things we heard on campus was the technical skills are getting better and better and better, but the soft skills, the communication skills, having that conversation are becoming more difficult. And I think that reflects society today. And how can we
Right.
set our students up to get those soft skills so they can have a conversation, take notes and listen and solve the customer's problem? So we're all working together on this. And the more we can do to help the industry, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I really, I think of this podcast as sort of adding to the body of knowledge in our profession. So if you're out there doing something, you can come and hear someone talk about forecasting or enablement, and you definitely in the role you're playing at Boise and at NIU are adding to the profession. And just I really honestly want to thank you for doing that because it's needed and it's cool.
Mhm.
Again, if you haven't seen it, I encourage everybody to check these students out. They're great programs.
Absolutely. And I think keeps the sales professors young too. I think I'm 25 at times, but the idea is like there's so many new things that are happening now with AI. What are people doing? How can we be more, marketplace driven when we're in the campus in the classroom?
Although, when you think you're 25, do you have your thumbs up things there? Do you have those around, or is that at your other desk? So
No,
I
I think I can.
did, you pulled these out on our previous call, and I wanted to tell you if you're going to be 25, you can do that on your screen now.
I know, but this is more fun. So that way
it,
it's more
it, cer-
interactive.
it certainly is. Chuck, again, thank you so much for your time. This has been a ton of fun.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate the opportunity.